Bonjour mes étudiants. Aujourd'hui, nous parlons de l'impératif. Oh là là. Are you ready? Let's get started. First thing I want you to think about are what are some commands or orders that you hear on a daily basis. The imperative is just a fancy way of saying a command when somebody tells you to do something. Do you hear any of these on a daily basis? C'est moi, assis-toi. Of course, Madame says this every day. You know, your girlfriend in the hallway, you're trying to ditch her. Oh, another girlfriend calling. Étudier, most important one of all. So think about when I go to make a command in English, how is it formed? What's the difference between, for example, sit down and you sit down? What's missing? The answer is the subject of the sentence. There's no subject in any of these. There's no I or he or you or we. There's no subject. So the impératif is used to give commands and also to make suggestions. En français, il y a trois formes. We have three forms of the impératif. And remember, impératif is just a fancy way of saying a command. The first form is the tu form. This is when you are telling one person what to do. You may have guessed the second form. It's the vous form, when you are talking to one person, more than one person, or telling a whole group of people what to do. The last form, it's a little different, is the nous form. We use this when we want to make a suggestion. It's always translated into English as let's. So, let's take a look at the impératif en français. It's not as difficult as you might think. It's really just formed exactly like in English. First thing, drop the subject. So in English we would say go, stop, wait, leave now. Alright, there's no subject in these English commands. You don't see a I, you don't see we, they, none of that. Check out, c'est très facile. So take your French sentence. For example, we're going to use vous écoutez. You all listen. If I want to make it a command, I just get rid of the subject. In this case, the subject is vous. Au revoir. So now I'm left with écouter, and that's my command. It means listen. Ah, faites attention. There's always a little something to make things totally crazy and annoying. Oui? So here's a funny little rule that you have to look out for. You, of course, remember your ER verb endings and how the to form ends in ES. Well, for any of those ER verbs, we're going to drop that S. We get rid of it. It doesn't change the pronunciation, it only changes the spelling. I'll give you an example. Tu écoutes. So you, singular, one person, you listen. If I want to make that a command, just tell one person in the class. I want to tell, I don't know, Jean-Paul. We don't have one of those in class, right? So I want to tell just Jean-Paul to listen. So I would say, instead of tu écoutes, which is a statement, I'm going to drop that tu. I'm left with écoute. Alright, but because écouter is an ER verb, the infinitive ends in ER, we have to drop the S. So now I'm left with écoute. Sometimes I might throw his name in there. Jean-Paul, écoute. Now, crazy as it seems, aller, check out the infinitive. See it right here? It ends in ER. So it's still going to follow that rule, even though it's conjugated irregularly. Do you remember the tu form of aller? Of course you do. It's tu vas. You go. So maybe I want to tell Marie-France to go, to get out of town. See you later. Instead of tu vas, you go. First step, remember, drop my subject. After that, we are left with va, but I'm going to drop that S. Au revoir, S. And now I'm left with va. So that just means go. Let's talk about that nous command, okay? We don't necessarily think of this as being a command, but in French, it's the impératif. Always going to translate it into English as let's. So if I want to say, for example, let's dance, maybe we'll use that one. We would consider it a suggestion. Dansons, let's dance. So this is the new form right here of dansons, but notice how I drop my subject. You don't see the nous. It just means let's dance. There's no separate word for let's. It's just built right into the command form. Well, you know, you're always told to do things, but even more aggravating, right, is when you're told you can't do everything that you want to do. So we're going to look at some negative commands. We've got our handy dandy 2 words for the negative, ne and pas. And normally what do? That's right, they give that verb a big old hug. And it's going to be the same thing in a command. It's going to go right around that conjugated verb. So, ne danse pas. I would tell my friend this because they clearly cannot keep up with my awesome dance moves. Maybe the whole class is dancing, and I'm like, enough is enough. You gotta watch me dance. So I would say, ne dansez pas, because I'm talking to everybody, lots of people. That's the vous form right there. See how it ends in ED. And notice up here in my to form, I had to drop that S because danser is an ER verb. Alright, last one. I realized, oh my gosh, here comes the principal. I gotta say, guys, let's not dance right now. I would say, ne dansons pas. Let's not dance, okay? Alright, so I know you guys like yelling at each other and, well, doing all sorts of crazy things. So at least now you know how to tell each other what to do in French. We've got ferme or fermer la bouche. I think we know what that means. We have écoute and écouter. Third one is a nice one for when your neighbor is making you aggravated. We've got arrête, stop, or arrêter. Maybe you got a whole bunch of kids being annoying. Va or aller, here's our form of to go when you want to tell somebody to go. It's one of the ones I like to use a lot. Assis-toi, sit down, or asseyez-vous when there's more than one person that you need to tell to sit down. Parle or parler when nobody is speaking and we need to talk. Doesn't seem like it's a problem in our class, but you never know. Last one is kind of like a chill out. Détends-toi or détendez-vous. So that you might want to use, you know, when your friend is getting all tense. Tell them to just détends-toi. Alright, c'est à toi. Put the verbs into the impératif. So for example, this one means to eat dinner. So you want to tell a whole bunch of people, eat dinner. How will we do that en français? Same thing here. You want to tell one person to watch TV. Here we're going to make a suggestion. Let's go to the movies. And last but not least, exactly what Madame wants to say every day. Everybody finish your homework. So try those 4 out, write them down, and tomorrow in class we will talk about it. And I'll answer any questions you have. Make sure you write down some good questions, anything you're confused about. Merci beaucoup pour regarder. Au revoir. Oh, that was the answer. Don't look. Au revoir.